Well, it's Christmas time. Where do we go to find out the true meaning of Christmas?
So I suppose you'd probably say, well, come to church. Is that where we find out the true meaning of Christmas? Where you can stand up and say to people, oh, I really believe in God. Where do you find out that you can do that? That you have that kind of conviction in your own heart? Come to church? Is that where you find it? No, I want to show you a better place. Psalm 138. Psalm 138. Psalm 138. And David writes this psalm, and it's put almost at the end of the book of Psalms. I will praise you, Lord, with all my heart. Before the gods, I will sing your praise. I will bow down toward your holy temple. I will praise your name for your unfailing love and your faithfulness. For you have so exalted your solemn decree that it surpasses your fame. When I called, you answered me. You greatly emboldened me. May all the kings of the earth praise you, Lord, when they hear what you have decreed. May they sing of the ways of the Lord, for the glory of the Lord is great. Though the Lord is exalted, he looks kindly on the lowly. Though lofty, he sees them from afar. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve my life. You stretch out your hand against the anger of my foes. With your right hand you save me. The Lord will vindicate me. Your love, Lord, endures forever. Do not abandon the works of your hands. David was very spontaneous in his worship. I think if he was here today, he would make a little of us very uncomfortable, a few of us uncomfortable, because he was very exuberant about his faith, and he didn't care who knew about it. You see how he gets involved here. He says, I will praise you, O Lord, with all my heart, not just the voice, but with his heart. And God looked down and said, oh, that's wonderful. Keep praising me from the heart. But then he goes on, before the gods I will sing your praise. So he's speaking it from the heart to the lips, and also I will bow down toward your holy temple and will praise your name for your unfailing love and your faithfulness. Oh, he was very spontaneous. Yes, he acted on a whim, a moment's notice, and he would go out and do things, wonderful things. I think that many of us would be a little bit embarrassed about it if we were with him for coffee. A waitress in a store handed a man his meal, and she turned around and walked away, and the other waitress says, look at that. And she turned around, and here's a man giving thanks for his food. And he actually got out of his seat, down beside his table, on his knees, and thanked God for the food. Would you do that? Well, the waitress says, boy, that better be good. Yes. Very spontaneous, but you know he was very studious as well, because he wrote these words down. He wrote them down. He thought, what was it I said to God? Oh, yes. I'll praise you with all of my heart. What else did I say? Before the gods, I will sing your praise. I'll go out of this place and I'll sing God's praise. And he wrote those things down. Did you write things down? Maybe little notes to yourself? I'm old school. Just found out that there's something beyond email. iChat or something, I don't know, some stupid thing. I don't know what it is. I'm not there yet. But just a little thing to pass on instead of writing long letters. You know, in 1840, there was a man who was very popular, and people wrote him letters at this Christmas time of year. And at that time, in the Victorian era, it was very rude not to respond. And he had this pile of letters. What am I going to do? And so he said, well, I know what. I have a friend, and I'm going to get that friend to make me a card. So he got this friend and it was 3 pictures on it. One picture was a poorer family having Christmas dinner, and one was a great rich family having Christmas dinner. Got in trouble with that because it looked as if somebody was giving wine to a little girl. Very not to do, but anyway. So he said, this is wonderful. And so he signed them, sent them all back to his friends. And they all thought, this is a new thing. This is wonderful. And you know, it took many years, but we got onto it, didn't we? Yes, we send Christmas cards. Some people send their Christmas letters. Did you get our computer-generated Christmas letter today? I hope you did. It's meaningful. It's meaningful for us. Some of those Christmas letters, you know, my son just got his PhD. Oh, my daughter is a judge in the court. And my other son, he's so wealthy, we don't know what to do about it. And you sit back and say, well, my kids just go to work. I mean, you know, you think, oh, what's going on here? So some of them can be a little syrupy, and, you know, we had one letter from the other side of the family, told us about all their medical problems. I need to know this? No, I don't. So sometimes the Christmas letters get a little agitated. But why do you send cards? You got it on your computer. Every one of us has it on computer where you can make up a card, make it up, and hand it to somebody, a personalized card. Who needs the time? Who takes the time to do that? Do you? No. Just go in and buy a card, right? David, spontaneous, but he was also studious because he sat down and he wrote these things out for our benefit. I will praise you. I will sing your praise. I will bow down toward your holy temple. There wasn't a temple yet. Did you know that when David wrote this? But he knew the place, and he got all the materials together and gave them to his son. He said, that's how you can build it. And he said, here's the plans. God said to him, you can't build that temple because you're a man of blood. You're a warrior. You go out. There's certain things we will get to the end of our life we'll never be able to do, and God will stop us from doing those things because he says, no, you're not the person to do that. Your son Solomon, whose name means peace, he'll build a temple. But David would bow down to it because he'd had an experience there, and so he prayed to God. You have a place where you come and you pray to God? A quiet place? I will praise your name for your unfailing love and your faithfulness. That's one word in Hebrew. It's the word hesed. Hesed. It's a magnificent word. Can we say it? Hesed. One more time. Hesed. Okay, this time. Hesed. Got it? Hesed. Backwards. Hesed. Hesed. You probably say, oh, great, Hesed. Okay, you have one word of Hebrew. You had another one here, hallelujah. That's another word in Hebrew. But it means a covenant relationship. And God says, I am in a covenant relationship with you, David, with the whole nation of Israel. It's like a man and wife. Man, woman, together, what happens? They get married. They're in a relationship. And when it works out, it's a beautiful thing. When it doesn't work out, of course, there's a fracture there. But God said, I am joining into a covenant, into a hesed with you. Not only you, David, but the whole nation. He said, I love you so much that this covenant relationship, I'm not going to break it. That's why God became so angry with his people later on when they ignored him, went after other gods. Why? Because they were destroying the covenant relationship. When husband and wife separate, how tragic, how tragic. But God says, I want this covenant relationship. Just turn back a page to Psalm 136. You know this one, don't you? Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of God. His love endures forever. What is it? It has said endures forever. His covenant relationship endures forever. Oh, look, you go down a little bit, and he says he destroyed Pharaoh and his army, but his love endures forever. If you're on God's side, how protected you are. God will never let you go. That's the most beautiful truth. And David is saying here, you have exalted your solemn decree that it surpasses your fame. And just before that, your unfailing love and your faithfulness, your has said to me. This relationship. Oh, David had a lot of problems. He was a king. I'm the king. Crown on his head, doing all these wonderful things. There were always critics. Always people who hated him. Things in turmoil right in the royal family. And yet, David loved God, and God loved David so much. He's surrounded by God's love. He wrapped his arms around you. Do you know that feeling? His covenant. And when I called, you answered me. You greatly emboldened me. He went into the quiet place and he praised his God. He wrote this down. He praised his God. And he came out of there with 3 principles. The first, apologetics. Now, when you see this word up here, you probably say, apology. We're good at apologizing in Canada, right? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Oh, apologize. Yes, okay, sorry. Ron was in a line at Starbucks a couple of weeks ago, and this man turned around and just about sneered at him. Ron stood back a little bit. You know, Ron is very polite. And they went up a little bit further, and this guy turned around again. I said, well, what's going on? He says, you're in my personal space. What? We're standing in line. You're in my personal space. So Ron just backed off a little bit more, you know. We're so polite. We're polite even when we don't need to be polite. You ever go through the mall, go into a store, you're working away, bump into somebody and turn around, oh, I'm sorry. It turns out it's a mannequin? Yes. We've done that, yes. One of the conservative senators sent a Christmas gift to Prime Minister Trudeau, a box of Kleenex, because Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister, whoever he is, that Trudeau guy, okay, when he was apologizing, he'd break down in tears. So he sent him a box of Kleenex. I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. But that's not what this word means. Oh, that's not what that word means. That's a complete, there's apologies. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. This is boldness. Sound like Ron Edgecourt. There is boldness. You know what it means? I'll break it down for you. You know what this means? It says, when I called, you answered me, you greatly emboldened me. You know what it means? This is what it means. Yeah, I'm a Christian. What are you going to do about it? I thought it'd be nice and mild, you know, pleasant Jesus. Let's be nice and mild. That's not what this says. It says, there it is, knock it off. That's what it means. It means, in a sense, get it right, to take pride in the fact that you have been with God. Oh boy. That's what apologetics is. A defense of the gospel. Now, you may not kneel down in a restaurant and give thanks for your food, but if you just bow your head and say, thank you, God, for this food. Jonathan reminded us, we thank God for so many things. We should. And when the discussion gets around to Jesus Christ and the gospel and Christmas, what it's all about, we need to stand up for him. We need to stand up for him. In National Geographic, there's a new one out called The 50 Most Influential People in the Bible. Guess who's number one? No, you're kidding me. Really? Jesus? National Geographic, I mean, finally they're getting closer to God. They've been away from him since inception. But this is a defense of the gospel. You don't need to know everything. You just need to tell them what happened to me. You need to say, it's not the tinsel. You can look at season's greetings and be happy about it, but you can also say, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I did that this past week. I've done it more than once, okay. But I did this past week. We had some trouble with the alarm system. It's all working. You can't break in anymore. It's all working. But this lady phoned me up, have you solved the problem? I said, no, we're working on it. Steve told me, oh, this is what's wrong. So I went out and fixed it. And just as she was hanging up, I said, and Merry Christmas to you. And click, the phone went dead. And about 15 seconds later, she phoned me back. Oh, I just want to say Merry Christmas to you. You said Merry Christmas. I'm sending Merry Christmas. I don't know if she's a Christian. She just wanted to be polite. And we can see season's greetings, Merry Xmas, and all the rest of it. But do we know the real meaning of Christmas? As Rick pointed out to us, in the absolute clearest message, the message of Christmas is Christ coming here for you and for me and for everybody else we'll ever meet in this world. That's boldness. That's apologetics. Not being ashamed, rather the other way around. So we're apologetic. Apologetics. I can't even get the word right. It's apologetics. It's defending the gospel, not apologizing for it, but telling people clearly who Jesus Christ is, why Christmas is there. Gloria was telling us just this morning about somebody last night. And they were, Ron and Gloria and some friends, and this fellow said, what's Christmas about anyway? And Ron was able to tell this person, and he didn't even know what Christmas was all about. Amazing. Amazing. They had the privilege of defending the gospel. And that's your task and my task. Now, I can read about it in a book. But where do we find it? Most strongly, we find it in the presence of God alone with Him. And when I get to the place where I say, just like David said, oh, I praise you. I'll sing your praise. I will bow down before you. When we come into a place of quietness and speak to God like that, we can come out of that place and defend the gospel. It's not what I say, it's what you will say in your world. That's what apologetics, but he goes on. You see, in the next verse it says, may all the kings of the earth praise you, Lord, when they hear what you have decreed. May they sing of the ways of the Lord, for the glory of the Lord is great. We need to await. Bob mentioned about the coming judgment of God. That's not here yet, but it's coming. Turn back in the Psalms to Psalm 46. Psalm 46 and verse 10. There are numerous places, but this is just handy. Psalm 46 and verse 10. We sing half of this. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And if we pray that back to God and think about it, we'll get to the impression that God wants in our hearts, everything will work out properly. I'll get it all to the end. I will deal justly with the entire world. Be still be still, be still. I remember many years ago, none of you were in the picture, but I was bothered about some of the people here. And just couldn't seem to get on top of it. And so I remember the first part of this verse, be still and know that I am God. And Asha got spread eagle on the floor, face right down on the floor, and just prayed this back to God, be still and know that I am God. Took a while, because I couldn't just say the words and let it just sort of run off me. I was serious. God, what's going on here? And I was, be still and know that I am God. When I got to that place, I could sit up and get back to work. Yeah, the problems were still there. But I had changed. I had changed. And you know what? To my sadness, I tell you this, it was years later that somebody said, hey, there's a second part to that. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And when David says, the kings will sing to you, that will one day happen. And there's a song we sing that how blessed it is to bow the knee to Jesus before he comes again. We await that day. Oh yes, we await that day, because it will be coming. And it must break our hearts for our friends and family members who don't know Jesus. It will change our praying. And when we come into the presence of God and are quiet and realize one day everybody will confess Jesus Christ as Lord to glory of God the Father, that's going to come. But the heart that we have, oh God, my friends, my brothers and sisters, bring them to Christ. It'll change our praying. But then we come down to verse 6. Though the Lord is exalted, he looks kindly on the lowly, though lofty, he sees them from afar. Our leaders do not know who we are. Pay your taxes, they'll be happy. Don't raise a stink, they'll be very happy. But God knows who you are. He reaches down through all of the peoples of the world, and he knows you intimately. And he says to us, the Lord will vindicate me. Your love, Lord, endures forever. Do not abandon the work of your hands. He allows, we allow him to work in our life. One lady told me with sadness, she says, I can look back in 10 years when I dug my heels in and God grabbed me and pulled me for 10 years, and my heel marks all those years. She was so ashamed of herself. God wanted to do some wonderful things in her life, and she said, no, I'm not going to do them. What a tragedy to waste our life like that. But God is saying to her, listen, I love you so much, I want to work in your life. Allow me to do it. We're all in process, you see. There's electric cars out there. Some of them are working good, but maybe one day we'll all have one. We don't know. But there's a process. The Canucks, there's a process. And it's not finished. But you're complete. You are complete to this day and time. And then God says, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do some more with you. Will we allow him to do that? The Lord will vindicate me. Your love, Lord, endures forever. Do not abandon the work of your hands. Where do I find out about that? I find out about that when I'm alone with God. And I can see, God, you're working in my life. There's where I used to be. God, this is where I am. Thank you so much. Where does all this happen? Where does the apologetic come from? Where does a waiting for all God's plans to work itself out? Where do it comes when I allow God to work in my life? It comes here. When I'm alone with God. And to separate myself and to say, okay, I'm going to be alone. I'm going to let God work in my life. God, just do whatever you have to do. I'm open. Dangerous. Oh, dangerous. Because in the next psalm, he says, at the end, he says, somewhere, search me, know my heart, test me, know my anxious thoughts, see if there's any offensive way, lead me in the way everlasting. Oh, wow. That's a dangerous prayer. But can I allow God to do that in my life? And it begins when I'm alone with God. When I can come into the presence of God because I really want to be there. And be able to defend the faith. And to know that one day God will take care of everything. And to know that God is still working in my life. And to allow Him to do that. Number 73. We'll just sing an a cappella. Number 73. He knows my name. Before my heart, before even time began, my life was